Hello, my name is Joshua McGee. Welcome to the pitch of Color Palette. In Color Palette, players take on the role of the last color knight who must find magical stones that will serve as the key in transporting them out of a mysterious colorless world they've found themselves trapped inside of. Color Palette is a third-person corridor-based puzzle game. The player must navigate through a series of hallways and rooms to find 4 power stones known as the Stones of Hue that will allow the player to change their color. The gameplay of Color Palette will offer various forms of puzzles for the player to solve. Players will be tasked with navigating through various puzzle types to hunt down the Stones of Hue. These puzzles will increase in difficulty as the player progresses through the game. I will cover 4 different puzzle types within this presentation. 1. A simple puzzle would consist of a player navigating corridors to find a key and then open a lock on the other side of the level. This will allow the player a chance to obtain a Stone of Hue, which will allow them to cross a color-restricted bridge to reach the end of the level. 2. An intermediate puzzle would consist of a player having to change their color to match platforms that are consistently falling. If they don't match the color of the next platform in time, they will fall to their demise, reverting them back to the previous checkpoint. 3. An advanced puzzle would consist of the player using the environment and the Stones of Hue to reach the end portal. For example, a player will only be able to walk through a door if a pressure plate is pressed down. They will need to push an object onto the pressure plate to keep the door open for them to have the opportunity to complete a color-based puzzle that will lead them to the exit portal. Keep in mind, for color matching puzzles, the player must be the right color to hit a switch, stand on a plate, or open a door. This will stress the importance of finding the Stones of Hue first before jumping headfirst to solve the puzzles. Players will inevitably encounter enemy AI known as clean slates. These slates serve as the antagonizing force that opposes the player throughout their puzzle solving. Easel has an ability that allows him to blend, which makes him invisible to slates for a short period of time. This allows him to bypass them without the risk of his life force being drained. Easel's blending ability, however, has a cooldown after use, so the player is urged to use this strategically. This brings us to my 4th puzzle example. Number 4. Clean Slate Evasion is another form of intermediate puzzle where a player must blend their ability strategically to bypass clean slates and navigate to an exit. Levels like these will become increasingly difficult as they will eventually require additional actions to be completed before the portal becomes available for use, such as hitting a color-based switch, using the environment to create opportunities for you, and perfectly timing your blends. If the player does not successfully blend, they will either need to run for dear life to the portal or prepare to be reverted to the last checkpoint. I took some elements from many different games. Doom is a very popular corridor-based first-person shooter that utilizes keycards. Assassin's Creed and Deus Ex are both popular games that promote stealth and evasion, with paying homage to an old Flash game known as The World's Hardest Game, which requires players to find all collectibles before progressing to the next level while avoiding hostile forces. By taking some features from some of these known and independent titles, the result is Color Palette. Color Palette stands out from other lock and key adventures because the objective is not always to find a lock and key. The player will be tasked with numerous puzzles that will have them grow confidence and familiarity with switching colors. Once a color has been found in the game, the player will have it in their arsenal for all future levels. Instead of introducing the repetitive task of finding the same 4 stones repeatedly, players will need to hone their abilities and grow comfort in switching between colors to prepare themselves for the intricate puzzles they will face in the future. 2 developmental risks we face with Color Palette are color switching and the blend ability. As the player progresses, they will need to switch between multiple colors. Finding a medium that allows the player to comfortably switch between these colors is a risk that will take much trial and error to find something that is efficient and simplistic. Also ensuring that the blend ability works and its effects are useful enough to the player to avoid being deemed a useless ability. Thank you for taking the time to learn about Color Palette.